I sat beside my 7-year-old son Tyler's hospital bed in the pediatric ICU, watching machines keep my boy alive after a mysterious poisoning. When my phone buzzed with my mother Patricia's call, I expected support. Instead, she demanded I leave my dying child to help prepare for my sister Jessica's 25th birthday party tomorrow. "I can't, Mom. Tyler's fighting for his life," I whispered. She exploded. "Then, you're cut off from this family forever." I hung up, blocked her number, and gripped Tyler's small hand tighter, choosing my son over everyone else. The nightmare had started 36 hours earlier, but sitting in that sterile hospital room with Tyler unconscious and surrounded by beeping monitors, it felt like a lifetime. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as I replayed every detail that brought us to this terrifying moment. Tyler had been staying with his grandmother Patricia for the weekend, while I worked double shifts at the construction site. Money was tight after my divorce from Jennifer, and I needed every extra dollar to make Christmas special for Tyler. Construction work in November meant racing against weather and daylight, pushing crews to finish projects before winter hit full force. Saturday passed without incident. Tyler called me that evening, chattering excitedly about helping Grandma Patricia bake cookies and watching old movies together. His voice carried that pure happiness only children possess, and I smiled despite my exhaustion from hauling concrete blocks all day. Sunday evening, Patricia's call came around 8 o'clock. "Tyler's feeling a bit under the weather," she said casually. "Nothing serious, probably just picked up something at school. You know how kids are." Something in her tone felt off, but I trusted her judgment. Patricia had raised 3 children and helped with countless grandchildren over the years. When I offered to pick Tyler up early, she insisted he just needed rest and would be fine by morning. Monday morning arrived gray and cold, typical November weather in Ohio. I finished my job site paperwork and drove to Patricia's house, expecting to find Tyler bouncing around as usual. Instead, I discovered my son pale and barely responsive on her couch. "Tyler?" I knelt beside him, pressing my palm against his forehead. His skin felt clammy and cold, not feverish. His breathing seemed shallow, and when I called his name, his eyes fluttered but didn't focus properly. "Mom, what happened?" I asked Patricia, who hovered nearby wringing her hands. "He's been like this since early morning," she said quickly. "Probably just needs more sleep. Kids get sick so fast these days." But Tyler wasn't just sick. Something was seriously wrong. His lips had a bluish tint, and his usual energetic personality had vanished completely. When I tried to wake him fully, he mumbled incoherently and slumped against the couch cushions. "We're going to the hospital," I announced, scooping Tyler into my arms. Patricia protested loudly. "You're overreacting, Basil. It's just flu. Hospitals are full of germs that'll make him worse." I ignored her complaints and carried Tyler to my truck. His body felt limp and lifeless in my arms, nothing like the wiggly, talkative boy I dropped off Friday evening. Fear clawed at my chest as I strapped him into his car seat and called Jennifer. "Meet us at Children's Hospital," I told Tyler's mother. "Something's really wrong." Jennifer arrived at the emergency room within 20 minutes, her face tight with worry. Together, we watched medical staff surround Tyler with equipment and urgency that confirmed my worst fears. Dr. Franklin, the attending physician, emerged from the examination room with a grim expression that made my stomach drop. "We need to run comprehensive blood work immediately," he said. "Tyler's heart rate is dangerously slow and his blood pressure is critically low. These aren't flu symptoms." The next few hours blurred together in a haze of medical terminology and mounting panic. Nurses drew vials of blood while Tyler remained barely conscious. Jennifer paced the waiting room floor while I sat frozen in a plastic chair, watching medical personnel rush past with clipboards and concerned expressions. When Dr. Martinez, the pediatric cardiologist, requested to speak with us privately, I knew we were facing something far worse than any normal childhood illness. "Tyler has been poisoned," Dr. Martinez said without preamble. "Blood tests reveal extremely high levels of digitalis in his system." "Digitalis?" Jennifer's voice cracked. "What's that?" "It's a heart medication, derived from foxglove plants but commonly prescribed in pill form for heart conditions. Tyler received at least 3 adult-sized doses, enough to stop his heart completely." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Poisoned? How is that possible?" He was with his grandmother all weekend. Dr. Martinez consulted his clipboard. Digitalis poisoning doesn't happen accidentally. The medication has a very bitter taste, and the dosage Tyler received would require deliberate administration. Someone gave him these pills, intentionally. Jennifer grabbed my arm. Who had access to Tyler this weekend? My mind raced through possibilities, but the answer was inescapable. Only Patricia had been alone with Tyler during the critical window when the poisoning occurred. The woman I'd trusted with my son's life. The grandmother who claimed to love Tyler unconditionally. Hospital security arrived to document everything while Child Protective Services launched an investigation. Nurses whispered among themselves about suspicious circumstances and potential criminal charges. The pediatric ICU became Tyler's new home as machines monitored his fragile heartbeat and slowly filtered poison from his small body. Dr. Franklin explained the treatment protocol with clinical precision that barely masked his anger. We're using activated charcoal to absorb remaining toxins and carefully monitoring his heart rhythm. Digitalis poisoning can cause cardiac arrest even after initial symptoms improve. As Tuesday morning approached, Tyler remained unconscious while his body fought to survive. The irony of Patricia demanding I abandon this medical crisis for Jessica's birthday party revealed a callousness that chilled me to my core. Sitting beside Tyler's hospital bed, watching his chest rise and fall with mechanical assistance, I finally understood that my mother's strange behavior Sunday evening hadn't been concern for a sick grandchild. She'd been covering up attempted murder. The hospital became my entire world, as Tyler's condition stabilized, but remained critical. Dr. Martinez cautioned that digitalis poisoning could cause delayed complications, meaning Tyler needed constant monitoring for at least 72 hours. I refused to leave his bedside except for brief trips to the cafeteria or bathroom. Wednesday morning brought an avalanche of family drama that made Tyler's medical crisis even more unbearable. My sister Jessica called first, her voice shrill with accusations. "You've completely destroyed Mom's reputation," she screamed through the phone. The police questioned her for 3 hours yesterday about poisoning Tyler. 3 hours, Basil. How could you accuse your own mother of something so horrible? I tried explaining the medical evidence, but Jessica cut me off. Mom said you've been acting strange lately, talking about conspiracy theories and blaming everyone else for your problems. Now you're using Tyler's illness to attack the family. You've ruined my birthday forever. Before I could respond, she hung up. Within an hour, my phone exploded with angry texts from relatives across our extended family network. Uncle Robert, Patricia is devastated by your accusations. She raised you better than this. Aunt Susan, how dare you involve police in family business? Tyler probably got into something at your house. Cousin Michael, Mom's been crying all night because of your lies. This is disgusting. Each message felt like a knife twist, but the worst came from Jennifer. Tyler's mother arrived at the hospital Tuesday afternoon, with doubt clouding her features. Basil, I need to ask you something difficult, she said, avoiding eye contact. Have you been under a lot of stress lately? With the custody arrangement and work pressure? What are you suggesting? I asked, though her meaning was becoming clear. Dr. Martinez said digitalis poisoning requires deliberate administration. If Patricia didn't do it, then who had access to Tyler recently? The implication hung between us like poison gas. Even Jennifer, who knew me better than anyone, was questioning whether I might have harmed our son. You think I poisoned Tyler? The words came out as a whisper. I don't want to think that, but we've been fighting about custody, and you've seemed really angry lately about the support payments. I stared at Jennifer in disbelief. The woman I'd once loved, the mother of my child, was entertaining the possibility that I'd tried to murder Tyler to win some twisted custody battle. Patricia had orchestrated this perfectly. While I sat helplessly beside Tyler's hospital bed, she was spinning a narrative that painted me as an unstable father who'd poisoned his own son and now sought to blame an innocent grandmother. By Wednesday evening, the isolation was complete. Hospital chaplain Father Thompson approached me with gentle but pointed questions about taking responsibility and seeking help through prayer and counseling. Even he believed Patricia's version of events. The only person who showed me genuine kindness was Marcus, the evening security guard who patrolled the pediatric wing. A stocky man in his 50s with graying temples, Marcus noticed my exhaustion and brought me coffee during his rounds. "I've seen this before," he said quietly Thursday morning as we stood in the hallway outside Tyler's room. "Family members turning on each other during medical emergencies." "It's more than that," I said. "My mother poisoned my son, and everyone believes I did it." Marcus studied my face carefully. "My grandmother did something similar when I was about Tyler's age. Gave me adult medications as punishment when I misbehaved. Called it teaching respect. Back then, nobody questioned grandparents about discipline methods." His words provided the first validation I'd received since this nightmare began. Someone else understood that family members could be more dangerous than strangers, especially when they used love and trust as weapons. The family campaign against me intensified throughout the week. Patricia played her role as devastated grandmother perfectly, sobbing during police interviews about her ungrateful son, who was destroying an innocent woman's reputation to cover his own crimes. My employer, construction foreman Danny Walsh, called Thursday afternoon with an ultimatum that shattered my remaining stability. "Basil, I'm getting complaints from the crew about your family situation. Word's getting around that you're involved in some kind of child abuse investigation. I can't have that controversy on my job sites. Tyler was poisoned by his grandmother, and I'm trying to prove it," I explained desperately. "Look, I don't know what's true or not, but I've got clients asking questions. Take a leave of absence until this gets sorted out, or I'll have to let you go permanently." Losing my job would mean losing health insurance right when Tyler needed expensive medical care most. The financial pressure added another layer of stress to an already impossible situation. Friday brought no improvement in Tyler's consciousness level, though his vital signs remained stable. Dr. Martinez cautioned that some digitalis poisoning victims experienced memory problems or confusion even after physical recovery. Jennifer visited twice daily but maintained emotional distance, clearly torn between supporting me and protecting herself from potential scandal. Her doubt hurt more than all the angry relatives combined, because she knew Tyler and I better than anyone. Sitting alone in Tyler's room Friday night, listening to ventilator machines and heart monitors, I realized Patricia's plan was succeeding perfectly. She'd poisoned Tyler, manipulated the entire family into blaming me, and positioned herself as the victim of false accusations. The cruelest irony was that while Tyler fought for his life, everyone focused on protecting Patricia's reputation rather than seeking justice for an innocent child. Even if Tyler recovered completely, the damage to our family relationships might prove irreversible. But holding Tyler's small hand in the dim hospital room, I made a silent promise that justice would prevail, no matter how long it took or how many family members I lost in the process. Tyler deserved a father who would fight for truth, even against impossible odds. Saturday evening brought the breakthrough I'd been praying for. Tyler's heart monitor showed stronger, more regular rhythms throughout the afternoon, and Dr. Martinez cautiously expressed optimism about his neurological responses. Around 7 o'clock, while I dozed in the uncomfortable bedside chair, Tyler's voice broke through my exhaustion like sunlight through storm clouds. "Daddy?" I jerked awake to find Tyler's eyes open and focused for the first time in nearly a week. His voice sounded hoarse and weak, but unmistakably my son. "Tyler! Oh God, buddy, you're awake." I pressed the call button for nurses while tears of relief streamed down my face. "I feel funny, Daddy. My chest hurts." Nurse Angela rushed into the room, followed quickly by Dr. Martinez. They conducted rapid neurological assessments while I held Tyler's hand, marveling at his responsiveness. "Excellent progress," Dr. Martinez announced after examining Tyler's pupils and reflexes. "The poison is clearing his system effectively." "Tyler, can you tell us your full name and age?" "Tyler James Anderson, and I'm 7 years old. Well, almost 8 in January." His clear responses sent relief washing over everyone present. Dr. Martinez smiled for the first time since Tuesday's crisis began. "Tyler, we need to ask about last weekend. Do you remember staying with Grandma Patricia?" Tyler's expression immediately darkened. He looked around the hospital room with growing confusion before his gaze settled on my face. "Daddy, where are we? Why am I hooked up to machines?" I explained gently that he'd gotten very sick from some medicine that made him sleep for several days. As comprehension dawned, Tyler's eyes filled with tears. "Grandma Patricia gave me the special medicine," he whispered. "She said it would make me sleep forever if I told anyone about Sunday." The words hit me like a physical blow. Nurse Angela stepped closer while Dr. Martinez leaned forward intently. "Tyler, can you tell us exactly what happened Sunday at Grandma's house?" Dr. Martinez asked gently. Tyler's lower lip trembled, but he spoke with the clarity that sometimes emerges from trauma. "I was looking for my Pokémon cards in your room, Daddy, because I thought maybe I left them there last time. Grandma Patricia was taking money from your wallet on the dresser. She had lots of $20 bills, my emergency fund. I'd noticed several $100s missing from my bedroom dresser but assumed I'd miscounted or spent more than I remembered. When she saw me watching, she got really mad. Her face turned red like when Uncle Robert yells at football games. She said I better not tell anybody about the money, or bad things would happen." Tyler paused, rubbing his eyes with small fists. "I said I was going to tell you because taking money is stealing, and stealing is wrong." That made her even madder. She grabbed my arm really hard and dragged me to the kitchen. "What happened in the kitchen, Tyler?" Nurse Angela asked softly. She opened a medicine bottle and poured out white pills. She said they were special medicine that would teach me about keeping secrets. When I said I didn't want medicine, she held my nose closed until I opened my mouth, then shoved the pills inside. The clinical details matched perfectly with Dr. Martinez's poisoning timeline and symptoms. She made me swallow them with orange juice, but they tasted really bitter and yucky. Then she said the medicine would make me sleep forever if I ever told anyone what I saw Sunday. Forever. Daddy. Like being dead. Tyler's voice broke on the last words. I gathered him carefully into my arms, mindful of all the medical equipment, as he sobbed against my chest. Grandma Patricia said if the medicine made me sick, I should tell people I ate something bad at home, not at her house. She said if I told the truth about the pills, the medicine would stop working to keep me alive. Nurse Angela excused herself to contact hospital security and Dr. Martinez immediately. The pediatric team had heard enough to confirm that Tyler's account matched the medical evidence perfectly. "Tyler, you're safe now," I assured him. "The doctors gave you different medicine that made Grandma Patricia's pills stop working. You're going to get completely better." "Is Grandma Patricia in trouble?" Tyler asked with the directness children possess. "Yes, buddy. What she did was very wrong, and the police need to know about it." Detective Morrison arrived within an hour to take Tyler's statement. Despite his young age, Tyler provided consistent details that corroborated the medical timeline and explained Patricia's behavior Sunday evening. The theft connected missing money to attempted murder, revealing Patricia's desperation to cover her crimes. She'd stolen from my emergency fund, probably not for the first time, and resorted to potentially lethal violence when Tyler threatened to expose her. Dr. Martinez confirmed that Tyler's account aligned perfectly with Digitalis poisoning symptoms and timing. The bitter taste, the orange juice to mask flavor, and the delayed onset all matched clinical patterns. Tyler's testimony provides crucial evidence, Detective Morrison explained. Combined with medical documentation and the suspicious circumstances, we have grounds for serious criminal charges. However, he cautioned that prosecuting elderly grandparents for harming grandchildren presented unique challenges. Defense attorneys often argue that confused senior citizens make medication errors or that traumatized children imagine things that didn't happen. We'll need additional physical evidence to build an airtight case. As Tyler drifted back to sleep, exhausted from his ordeal and the emotional strain of reliving Sunday's trauma, I felt a mixture of relief and determination. Tyler had survived Patricia's attempt to silence him permanently. Now the real battle would begin, proving that a seemingly loving grandmother had deliberately poisoned her own grandchild to cover up petty theft. The family members who'd abandoned me during the past week would soon learn the truth about their beloved Patricia. But first, I needed to gather evidence that would ensure she never had another opportunity to harm Tyler or any other child. Justice for Tyler had become my sole mission, and I would pursue it with every resource at my disposal. Sunday morning brought new determination as Tyler continued improving steadily. Dr. Martinez expressed cautious optimism about Tyler's complete recovery, though he warned about potential long-term heart rhythm monitoring. Detective Morrison's warning about needing additional evidence haunted my thoughts. Tyler's testimony was compelling, but I understood that defense attorneys would attack the credibility of a traumatized 7-year-old against his own grandmother. I needed physical proof to support Tyler's account. I'm going to Patricia's apartment complex, I told Jennifer when she arrived for her morning visit with Tyler. There might be evidence she hasn't disposed of yet. Jennifer looked skeptical. Basil. The police already searched her apartment. If there was evidence, they would have found it. Tyler mentioned specific details about the pills and orange juice. Maybe there are traces left behind, or she threw things away that could be recovered. Jennifer agreed to stay with Tyler while I conducted my investigation. Leaving the hospital felt wrong after spending a week at Tyler's bedside, but gathering evidence was crucial for protecting him long-term. Riverside Gardens apartment complex housed mostly senior citizens in subsidized housing. Patricia had lived there for 8 years since selling the family home after Dad's death. The maintenance staff knew her well as a friendly neighbor who baked cookies for building social events. I approached Carlos, the maintenance supervisor, with a carefully planned story. Carlos, I'm Patricia Anderson's son. She's been in the hospital this week with a heart episode, and I'm trying to help piece together what happened before her emergency. Carlos, a heavy-set man in his 40s with calloused hands from years of repair work, expressed immediate concern. Is she okay? Patricia seemed fine last weekend when I fixed her kitchen faucet. The doctors think she might have accidentally mixed up her medications. I'm wondering if you noticed anything unusual about her behavior recently, or if she mentioned having trouble with her pills. Actually, yes, Carlos said thoughtfully. Last Sunday night, around midnight, I was doing routine checks and saw her outside by the dumpsters. She seemed upset, throwing away several bags of trash. When I asked if she needed help, she said she was cleaning out old medications that had expired. My pulse quickened. Patricia disposing of evidence at midnight Sunday aligned perfectly with Tyler's timeline. Would it be possible to check the security footage from that night? If she was confused about her medications, it might help the doctors understand what happened. Carlos hesitated, then nodded. The property manager isn't here weekends, but I have access to the security office for maintenance emergencies. Patricia's a good tenant, so I want to help if I can. The security office contained monitors displaying feeds from 8 cameras positioned around the complex. Carlos located Sunday night's footage and fast-forwarded to midnight. There was Patricia, clearly visible under parking lot lights, carrying multiple grocery bags toward the large dumpster behind Building 3. She looked around nervously before throwing the bags inside, then hurried back to her apartment. Can you make copies of this footage? I asked. I probably shouldn't without the property manager's permission, Carlos said slowly. But if Patricia's health is at stake, he burned the relevant footage onto a disk, while I watched Patricia's suspicious behavior replay on the monitor. Her furtive glances and rapid movements suggested guilt rather than confused medication disposal. Carlos, would you be willing to help me check what she threw away? If there are medication bottles, it might explain her hospital emergency. Carlos considered the request carefully. The garbage truck comes Tuesday mornings, so anything from Sunday night would still be there. I suppose we could look. For Patricia's health. We walked to the dumpster behind Building 3, where Sunday night's garbage remained buried under newer trash bags. Carlos provided work gloves and a flashlight as we began searching through debris. 20 minutes of unpleasant digging revealed exactly what I hoped to find. Shattered glass fragments from prescription bottles, along with small white pills scattered among coffee grounds and food waste. These look like Patricia's heart pills, Carlos observed, holding up tablet fragments. She's mentioned her digitalis prescription before. I carefully collected pill fragments and bottle pieces into evidence bags, photographing everything with my phone. The prescription labels were partially legible, showing Patricia's name and digitalis medication information. But the security footage had revealed something even more disturbing. Fast-forwarding through Monday morning's feeds, I discovered Jessica arriving at Patricia's apartment around 9 a.m., just 2 hours before I picked up Tyler. Jessica had helped Patricia cover up evidence of the poisoning. The implications staggered me. My sister hadn't just believed Patricia's lies about my alleged abuse. She'd actively participated in concealing attempted murder. I drove straight to the police station with the evidence. Detective Morrison reviewed the security footage and examined the recovered pill fragments with obvious interest. This is excellent work, Basil. The footage shows clear consciousness of guilt, and the physical evidence supports Tyler's account of being given digitalis pills. What about Jessica's involvement? I asked. We'll need to investigate her role carefully. Helping dispose of evidence after the fact could constitute accessory charges, but we need to determine what she knew and when she knew it. Hospital social worker Maria Santos documented everything for Child Protective Services, while Dr. Franklin provided detailed medical testimony about the deliberate nature of Tyler's poisoning. The evidence was mounting steadily. Tyler's clear testimony. Suspicious security footage. Physical evidence of disposed medications. And medical documentation of intentional poisoning. But Patricia had hired attorney David Walsh, known for defending difficult cases involving elderly clients. Walsh immediately began preparing arguments about confused senior citizens making innocent medication errors. He'll claim Patricia accidentally gave Tyler her heart pills thinking they were children's vitamins, Detective Morrison warned. Defense attorneys are skilled at creating reasonable doubt, especially when elderly defendants appear sympathetic. The legal battle would be challenging, but Tyler's safety was worth fighting for regardless of obstacles. Patricia had attempted murder once, and might try again if given the opportunity. As I returned to the hospital Sunday evening, carrying evidence that could finally bring justice for Tyler, I felt hope for the first time in over a week. The truth was emerging, and Patricia's carefully constructed lies were beginning to crumble. Monday morning brought devastating news that shattered my growing confidence about justice prevailing. Patricia's attorney David Walsh had successfully argued for supervised visitation rights while the investigation continued, claiming that grandparents deserved family contact unless proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Judge Harrison granted Walsh's request, despite Detective Morrison's objections, ruling that Patricia could visit Tyler under hospital supervision for 1 hour daily beginning Tuesday. "This is insane," I told Jennifer as we stood in the hospital corridor outside Tyler's room. "She poisoned him, and now the court says she can visit him?" Jennifer looked exhausted from the emotional strain of the past week. The judge said supervised visits in a hospital setting pose no danger, and that family relationships should be preserved whenever possible. Patricia tried to murder Tyler. How is that preserving family relationships? The legal decision emboldened Patricia's supporters throughout our extended family network. Uncle Robert organized a prayer circle outside the hospital Monday evening, with 15 relatives holding signs demanding justice for Patricia and stop false accusations. Jessica launched a social media campaign portraying me as a mentally unstable father using Tyler's illness for attention. Her Facebook posts gained traction among distant relatives and family friends who knew nothing about the medical evidence. "My brother Basil has been struggling since his divorce," Jessica wrote. "Now he's making horrible accusations against our mother to avoid taking responsibility for his son's condition. Please pray for our family during this difficult time." The post received dozens of supportive comments from people offering prayers for Patricia and condemning my lies. Social media became another battlefield where truth mattered less than emotional manipulation. Tuesday afternoon arrived with Tyler much more alert and asking questions about why everyone seemed upset. I struggled to explain the adult complexities surrounding his poisoning without frightening him further. "Am I in trouble for telling about Grandma Patricia's pills?" Tyler asked as nurses prepared him for his grandmother's court-ordered visit. "No, buddy. You did exactly the right thing by telling the truth. Sometimes adults make bad choices, and truth helps fix problems. Is Grandma Patricia still mad about the money?" Tyler's innocent question reminded me that this nightmare had started with petty theft. Patricia's willingness to commit attempted murder to cover stealing a few $100s revealed a level of desperation and callousness that still shocked me. At exactly 2 o'clock, Patricia arrived for her supervised visit accompanied by attorney David Walsh and Jessica. Seeing them together confirmed that Jessica had chosen Patricia's side completely, abandoning any pretense of neutrality. Hospital security officer Marcus accompanied them to Tyler's room while I waited in the hallway, forced to trust strangers to protect my son from his own grandmother. Through the partially open door, I could hear Patricia's saccharine voice as she spoke to Tyler. "Grandma missed you so much, sweetie. I've been worried sick about your flu. Are you feeling better now?" Tyler's response was barely audible, but his discomfort was obvious even from the hallway. After 10 minutes, he began crying and asking for me. "Daddy, I want Daddy." Marcus ended the visit immediately, escorting Patricia and her entourage from the room. She looked frustrated rather than concerned about Tyler's distress. The child is clearly being coached against me," Patricia told her attorney loudly enough for me to hear. "This whole situation is tragic. Manipulation of an innocent boy." Wednesday brought escalating tension as Patricia's daily visits continued despite Tyler's obvious fear and discomfort. Each session left him agitated and confused, asking why Grandma Patricia pretended not to remember giving him medicine. The family prayer circle outside the hospital grew larger, now including Patricia's church group and neighbors from her apartment complex. Local news reporter Sarah Chen covered the story with a sympathetic angle about elderly grandparents facing false accusations. Family disputes involving allegations of child abuse create complex emotional challenges, Chen reported. Patricia Anderson maintains her innocence while supporting her grandson's recovery from a mysterious illness. The news coverage painted me as a vindictive son attacking his vulnerable mother, while Patricia appeared as a devoted grandmother suffering unjust persecution. Thursday evening brought the most terrifying development yet. Tyler was sleeping peacefully when his heart monitor suddenly began alarming around 8 p.m. Dr. Martinez rushed into the room as Tyler's heart rate spiked dangerously high. "What's happening?" I asked frantically as medical staff surrounded Tyler's bed. "Cardiac arrhythmia," Dr. Martinez said grimly. "This could indicate renewed digitalis exposure or delayed toxicity." As nurses drew emergency blood samples, Security Officer Marcus burst into the room. "We've got a problem. A volunteer was caught in Tyler's room an hour ago with unauthorized medical supplies." My blood froze. What volunteer? Blonde woman, face mask, claimed she was delivering comfort items for pediatric patients. Nurse Angela recognized her walk and jewelry, despite the disguise. "Patricia," I breathed. Marcus nodded. Hospital security found her in Tyler's room with a syringe containing clear liquid. She was attempting to inject it into his IV line when Angela interrupted her. The implications hit me like a sledgehammer. Patricia had tried to finish what she'd started, using a disguise to bypass hospital security for another murder attempt. Where is she now? Detained by police. The syringe is being tested, but Tyler needs immediate treatment for potential additional poisoning. Dr. Martinez worked frantically to stabilize Tyler's heart rhythm, while I stood helplessly watching machines fight to save my son's life for the second time in 10 days. Patricia's mask had finally slipped completely. Her public breakdown in front of witnesses destroyed her sympathetic grandmother image and exposed the calculating killer underneath. But Tyler was fighting for his life again, and I didn't know if his small body could survive another round of Patricia's murderous intentions. The syringe Patricia attempted to inject into Tyler's foreline contained a massive dose of liquid digitalis, enough to kill an adult, according to toxicology reports. Dr. Martinez confirmed that if Nurse Angela hadn't interrupted the injection, Tyler would have died within minutes. Patricia's arrest for attempted murder sent shockwaves through our extended family. The woman they'd defended and supported for 10 days had been caught red-handed trying to murder her own grandson in a hospital room. Friday morning brought Detective Morrison to interview Patricia while she sat in county jail without bond. Her confession, recorded with attorney David Walsh present, revealed the depth of her desperation and callousness. "Tyler was going to ruin everything," Patricia admitted. "He saw me taking Basil's money, and he threatened to tell. Children shouldn't interfere in adult business." "How much money did you take from your son's house?" Detective Morrison asked. $460 over the past 3 months. Basil keeps emergency cash in his bedroom dresser, and he never noticed small amounts missing. But Tyler caught me taking $200 Sunday afternoon. Why was the money important enough to poison Tyler? Patricia's answer revealed the ugly truth behind her crimes. "I owe gambling debts to people who don't accept excuses. Online poker games got out of hand, and I needed money immediately. Basil would have lectured me about responsible spending, but Tyler was going to expose everything. So, you decided to poison him?" "I gave him my heart pills to teach him about keeping quiet. Children need to learn respect for their elders. I didn't think the medicine would make him that sick." Detective Morrison pressed for details about Patricia's planning and execution. "You gave Tyler at least 3 adult doses of digitalis, which medical experts confirm could have killed him. That suggests deliberate intent rather than teaching a lesson." Patricia's composure cracked completely. Tyler deserved to learn about consequences. If he died, it would have been his own fault for threatening to tell on me. Grandparents shouldn't have to tolerate disrespectful grandchildren. The recorded confession provided ironclad evidence of premeditated attempted murder, motivated by covering up petty theft and gambling addiction. But the most shocking revelation came when Detective Morrison questioned Jessica about her role in the cover-up. Under pressure and facing accessory charges, Jessica broke down completely. "Mom told me Tyler wasn't really Basil's biological son," Jessica sobbed during her police interview. She said genetic testing had proven Tyler was Jennifer's child from another relationship, and that Basil was being manipulated into supporting someone else's kid. "Did you believe this claim?" Mom showed me documents that looked like DNA test results. She said Tyler was an outsider trying to steal family inheritance money, and that protecting the family bloodline was more important than protecting one child. The twisted logic behind Jessica's cooperation emerged through hours of questioning. Patricia had convinced Jessica that Tyler represented a genetic threat to their family legacy, making him expendable in their twisted worldview. When Mom called Monday morning asking me to help clean her apartment, I thought we were hiding evidence of Tyler's illegitimate parentage, not attempted murder. Court-ordered genetic testing definitively proved Tyler was my biological son, exposing Patricia's elaborate lies and manipulation. The DNA evidence destroyed Jessica's defense and revealed the depth of Patricia's deception. The family fractures became irreversible as relatives learned the truth about Patricia's systematic manipulation over decades. Uncle Robert and Aunt Susan issued public apologies, admitting they'd been deceived by Patricia's lies and emotional manipulation. "We've enabled Patricia's behavior for years without realizing how dangerous she'd become," Uncle Robert said during a tearful hospital visit. "Tyler could have died because we believed her lies instead of supporting Basil." Jennifer's guilt was overwhelming as she realized how completely she'd been manipulated into doubting me during Tyler's medical crisis. "I should have trusted you immediately," Jennifer said, as Tyler recovered from his second poisoning attempt. "Patricia played on my fears about custody battles and made me question everything I knew about your character." The community support that had initially favored Patricia evaporated as details of her confession became public. Church members who'd prayed for her innocence expressed shock and betrayal. Neighbors at her apartment complex demanded her immediate eviction. Local news reporter Sarah Chen covered Patricia's confession with appropriate gravity, acknowledging her earlier sympathetic coverage had been based on deliberate misinformation. "This case demonstrates how family loyalty can be weaponized to conceal serious crimes," Chen reported. Patricia Anderson manipulated relatives into supporting her through emotional manipulation and outright lies about her grandson's parentage. By Saturday evening, Patricia sat in county jail, awaiting trial on charges of attempted murder, child endangerment, theft, and evidence tampering. Jessica faced accessory charges that would likely result in probation and mandatory counseling. Tyler's physical recovery progressed steadily, but the emotional trauma would require extensive therapy. He struggled to understand why his grandmother had tried to hurt him twice, asking innocent questions that broke my heart. "Daddy, did Grandma Patricia ever love me, or was she always pretending?" Answering those questions required patience and professional guidance from child psychologists who specialized in family trauma cases. The legal proceedings moved forward quickly, with Patricia's recorded confession providing overwhelming evidence. Attorney David Walsh negotiated a plea agreement to avoid trial, acknowledging that his client's actions were indefensible. But justice through the courts was only one aspect of healing from this nightmare. Rebuilding trust and safety for Tyler would take years of careful work and vigilance against future threats. The family members who'd abandoned me during the crisis now sought forgiveness and reconciliation, but trust had to be earned through consistent actions rather than tearful apologies. As Tyler's strength returned and his heart monitor showed steady, healthy rhythms, I began planning our future with hard-earned wisdom about protecting those who matter most from those who claim to love them. 3 weeks later, Tyler walked out of Children's Hospital holding my hand and carrying a stuffed tiger that Nurse Angela had given him as a recovery gift. The morning sun felt warm on our faces as we headed home to begin rebuilding our lives. Dr. Martinez's final examination showed complete recovery from digitalis poisoning with no lasting heart damage. Tyler would need follow-up appointments for 6 months, but his prognosis was excellent for normal childhood development. "Tyler's resilience has been remarkable," Dr. Martinez told me during our discharge meeting. "Children often recover from trauma faster than adults, especially with strong parental support. The legal resolution came swiftly once Patricia's confession became public. She pleaded guilty to attempted murder and received an 8-year prison sentence with lifetime restraining orders preventing contact with Tyler or me. Judge Harrison called her crimes a profound betrayal of family trust that endangered an innocent child's life. Jessica received 2 years probation and mandatory counseling for her role in concealing evidence. Her tearful courtroom apology expressed genuine remorse. But rebuilding our relationship would require time and consistent effort. I was completely manipulated by Mom's lies, Jessica said during one of our supervised meetings. I thought I was protecting family honor, but I nearly helped cover up Tyler's murder. That guilt will never leave me. The extended family dynamics shifted dramatically as relatives grappled with enabling Patricia's behavior for decades. Uncle Robert and Aunt Susan attended family therapy sessions to understand how they'd been manipulated into supporting attempted murder. Patricia was always the victim in every situation, Uncle Robert reflected. We never questioned her stories because she seemed so helpless and needy. Now we realize she was a master manipulator who used our sympathy as a weapon. Some relatives chose to maintain distance rather than confront their complicity, effectively ending those relationships permanently. Others worked actively to make amends and understand how they'd failed Tyler during his medical crisis. Jennifer's guilt consumed her initially, but our co-parenting relationship eventually strengthened through shared trauma and commitment to Tyler's safety. I abandoned you when you needed support most, Jennifer admitted during one of our weekly coffee meetings. Patricia convinced me that loving mothers protect their children from unstable fathers, so I questioned everything I knew about your character. She was incredibly skilled at manipulation, I replied. The important thing is learning to recognize those tactics and protecting Tyler from future threats. We developed new protocols for Tyler's safety, including background checks for anyone providing childcare and detailed communication about his whereabouts. Trust had to be rebuilt through actions rather than promises. Tyler's emotional recovery progressed with help from child psychologist Dr. Sarah Williams, who specialized in family trauma cases. Play therapy helped him process the betrayal and violence he'd experienced from someone he trusted. Tyler understands that some adults make terrible choices that hurt children, Dr. Williams explained. But he's learning to trust his instincts and speak up when adults make him uncomfortable, which will protect him throughout life. The most profound change came in my perspective about family loyalty and boundaries. I'd always believed that blood relationships created unbreakable obligations. But Tyler's poisoning taught me that protecting your children sometimes requires fighting your entire family. Real family members stand with you during crisis. I explained to Tyler during one of our evening talks. They don't demand loyalty while endangering your safety. Marcus, the security guard who'd shown me kindness during Tyler's hospitalization, became an honorary uncle who joined us for weekend activities. Carlos, the maintenance worker who'd helped gather evidence, brought his children to play with Tyler at the park. Nurse Angela remained a trusted friend who checked on Tyler's progress and celebrated his recovery milestones. These chosen family members proved more reliable than blood relatives who'd abandoned us during our darkest hours. The financial impact was significant but manageable. Medical bills exceeded $40,000, but insurance coverage and hospital charity programs reduced our burden substantially. My construction job provided steady income and excellent benefits once Danny Walsh understood the full truth about Tyler's poisoning. 6 months later, Tyler started second grade with confidence and enthusiasm. His teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, knew about his medical history and watched for signs of anxiety or behavioral changes. Tyler talks about his daddy protecting him from bad people, Mrs. Rodriguez reported during our parent conference. He seems to understand that sometimes adults make wrong choices, but that good adults will always fight for children's safety. The most meaningful moment came 9 months after Patricia's arrest, when Tyler and I built a treehouse together in our backyard. As we hammered boards and measured angles, Tyler shared his feelings about the experience. "Daddy, I used to be scared that other people might try to hurt me like Grandma Patricia did. But now I know you'll always protect me, even from family members." "That's right, buddy. My job as your father is keeping you safe from anyone who wants to hurt you, no matter who they are or what they claim about loving you. I feel safe now because you listen when I tell you about scary things, and you believe me even when other people don't." Tyler's words captured the essence of what I'd learned through this nightmare. Children need parents who prioritize their safety over family politics, who believe their accounts of abuse even when it's inconvenient, and who fight for justice regardless of the personal cost. As Tyler hammered his final nail into the treehouse platform, I reflected on the journey that had brought us to this peaceful moment. Patricia's attempt to silence Tyler permanently had instead taught him to speak truth fearlessly and trust good adults completely. The treehouse became Tyler's sanctuary, a place where he felt completely safe and protected. We hung a small sign by the entrance that read, "Truth Tellers, Welcome," reminding us both that honesty and courage had saved his life. "Daddy, can we invite Marcus and Carlos and Nurse Angela for a treehouse party?" Tyler asked as we admired our construction work. "Absolutely. They're our real family now." Looking at Tyler's bright smile and hearing his excited plans for the party, I felt profound gratitude for the people who'd stood with us during our crisis and helped us rebuild stronger than before. The deepest lesson from this experience was understanding that protecting your children sometimes means losing family members who prioritize their own comfort over child safety. But the love you preserve by making those difficult choices creates space for genuine relationships built on mutual respect and shared values. Tyler's poisoning had been a nightmare that nearly destroyed our family, but surviving it together had taught us both invaluable lessons about courage, truth, and the real meaning of family loyalty. As we climbed down from the treehouse and headed inside for dinner, Tyler took my hand and squeezed it gently. "Thanks for fighting for me, Daddy, even when everyone said you were wrong. I'll always fight for you, Tyler. That's what real parents do." Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced a situation where protecting someone you love meant standing up to family members who didn't believe you? How did you find the courage to keep fighting for the truth when everyone seemed against you? Share your story in the comments below because your experience might help someone else who's facing a similar challenge. If this story moved you or made you think about the importance of believing children when they report abuse, please hit the like button and share it with others who need to hear this message. Subscribe for more stories about courage, truth, and the real meaning of family loyalty. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to stay silent when someone you love is in danger, no matter who's trying to silence you.